welcome back, everyone. Did you have great breakout sessions? Yeah? All right. Round of applause for all the sponsors of our breakout sessions, please. And it's a real treat for me to be introducing the presenters of the next session because we're talking about regional Iranian cuisine. And the fact that we are at a stage where we can actually start talking about the geographical nuances of one country like Iran that we don't necessarily know a lot is really, really unique and says a lot about where we are from a culinary perspective in the US. And one reason why we are here is in part because of our first presenter, Najmieh Batmanglij, who's been hailed as the grande dame of Iranian cooking by the Washington Post. She has spent the last 40 years cooking, traveling, and adapting authentic Persian recipes to taste and techniques in the West. You probably know her book, Food of Life, Ancient Persian and Modern Iranian Cooking and Ceremonies, which just celebrated its 25th anniversary edition. So she has been educating us for a long time about Persian, about Iranian cooking. And it's really my real pleasure to introduce Najmieh to take us through this first presentation, and then I will introduce the rest of our speakers. But there would be no one else here if not for Najmieh.
Thank you. Today, when I was serving crispy rice, a lot of people ask me, how do you make it? I'm going to show you a very simple way, the original way of making crispy rice. I'm going to put saffron, rose water, oil. I have 1 minute, so that's why I'm in a rush. And I'm going to put some rice. I just want to show you. And I'm going to mix. This is the way you make the base of any crispy rice you want to make. Oil, saffron, and I want to tell you this is parboiled rice. And I love to use rose water because rose water and saffron combination creates this heavenly aroma. So it's wonderful. You're going to make your base. You can use butter, ghee, oil. I am using olive oil. Today we talked a lot about olive oil. So this is our base. And then you add the rest of your rice. The trick for this, for the crispy rice is you want to pack your rice down. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to take everything, so we are not going to waste any grain. And then just pack your rice. This is important. If you want to make a tahdig, you can make it in a hotel. You can make it. If you make it in a hotel, I advise you to use parchment paper or aluminum foil, but non-stick is the best bet. So, and then you packed it, and this is a wonderful crispy rice, which I consult with them. They made it. It's very easy. You open this, especially it's wonderful for restaurant. If you have a few of these, you get the order, they make it. You put it right here. I'm going to put that one here. Where's my... and I'm going to put this on top. Usually they're hot, so you should... Okay. Now it's, they said, is the moment of truth. And I like to put a beautiful flour. This is edible flour. This is our first demo for you guys. And then I'm going to show you how to make beautiful drink, which I had it in Shiraz. My host made it for me, and I loved it. It's simple, beautiful, and delicious. Made of dry lime. I don't know any of you, you might, all of you know about it, but dry lime is a wonderful, it's sun-dried green dry lime, actually. And so it's a wonderful ingredient to know and use. It has earthy, smoky flavor, and the sour agent. They use it mostly in Persian Gulf. Of course, I saw it all over Iran, but mostly in Persian Gulf they use it. So we're going to use any kind of pitcher, and I'm going to add about 4 or 5 dry lime and good water and that's. How many of you know about dry lime? Okay, not so many, so that's good. So you get to know about dry lime. It's wonderful, and what I have done, I add some sekanjebin, which is vinegar syrup in it, and I put some flour, slice of cucumber, edible rose water, if you want, edible roses or any kind of flour, and that's great. And then we put some ice, and we're going to show that later on. So if you want to taste it, you can. But I advise you let this sit for about 8 hours before using it. And my son actually liked it without the syrup because this has beautiful flavor. And Susan June or Juliet, would you pass this around so people can look at it and taste it? You can get it in the Iranian store. Okay, that's our demo. Now I'm going to show you about my... Just let them pass around. Okay. I hope you had a good time because we work very hard in order, and it was lovely for us because we learned from each other too. That was beautiful. For 35 years, so let me put my, is this good this way, right? Okay. For 35 years, while I was writing cookbooks and teaching cooking and raising family, I had this fantastic dream to go back to Iran, to meet the cooks, to share kitchens, tables, sense, get a feeling that conveyed the very essence of Iran. It took me 2 years of planning and 3 years of traveling. I traveled 1,000 miles throughout Iran, and because every region had their own culture, and I wanted to know about this culture. Iran is divided into several plateaus and separated by high mountain ranges running from west to east and north to south. As a result, every region, they have their own climate, own vegetation, and own food culture, which that is very interesting. Let me take you to Caspian. I'm not going to go on details because Hanif, my colleague, is going to talk about Caspian because he's originally from Caspian. I cooked with Zari Khanum in Rasht. We went to the market, Rasht market, garlic and fresh fava everywhere, fish, rice, and eggs. Garlic, this is fermented garlic. The garlic soaked in albalu with sour cherry juice, which was wonderful. That was an eye-opener for me. Eggs. They eat quail, duck eggs beside chicken eggs, and they have cuckoo. Cuckoo is like a frittata, but Iranian, they don't use cheese or cream in their cuckoo. That's the difference between frittata and cuckoo. Cuckoo with tomato, garlic, cauliflower, zucchini, potato, smoked eggplant with eggs. They call Mirza Qasemi, and every region in Caspian, they make it, and they said that ours is the best. There is a village in hilltop on the foot of the Alborz mountain called Masule. And what I discovered there, it's Persian hogweed seeds. If you don't know that spice, you should know. They call it in Persian golpar, and you cannot get the seeds, but you can the ground hogweed seeds available in market, Persian market especially, and then it's wonderful with anything with pomegranate and fava to bring this wonderful earthy flavor. This is a beautiful site. We asked these couples if we can take a picture. They took us to their house and they serve us duck with walnut and pomegranate, and then they give us tea with rose petal jams. Now I'm going to take you 1,000 miles towards southern Iran, the Persian Gulf. This is Bandari spice. It's very unique from the rest of Iran because they have influence of Portuguese. I know some Portuguese here, and they have influence of Indian food in their spices. Fish all over Persian Gulf. He's giving me a recipe how to make prawn. He said that stuff your prawn with cilantro and garlic, and then grill them, and then put brown butter on top, squeeze bitter orange on it. So it was lovely. We made it. I wanted you guys to know one thing about this dish. They in Persian Gulf, they brush the fish with date molasses. That creates two functions. It prevents from burning when you grill your fish, and the second one, keep your fish very moist. And this flavor of dates has a wonderful taste. Date is very important in Persian Gulf. Everything goes with date. Date all over. Rice steamed in date juice. Date with eggs. If you haven't tried, try this dish. It's so easy and lovely. Date and walnut cake. Date and hazelnut halwa. These people in Balochistan teaching me how to make ranginak. It is date walnut and apricot and date roll. Date ice cream. I had this in Shiraz. This was my favorite dessert. After serving us qaliye mahi, which you had it today with cilantro and garlic and tamarind, my host served me a wonderful seasonal date with tahini. Tahini functions as like chocolate. So she dipped the date in tahini and gave it to me, and then served wonderful coffee afterwards. It was lovely. It was simple but delicious dessert. This is date bread. She made the dough from date juice, which I'm going to show you the video afterwards, so I'm not going to talk about it. This is dry lamb. You already know about it. Dry lamb with shrimp. It's so delicious. Chicken with dry limes. Fish with dry lamb shrub that you just observed. I'm in Hormozgan. I'm here. I'm thanking God. My trip is over because it was very haunting, logistically, politically, and emotionally. It was really scary for me, but I did it. I'm so happy I did it. In this region, they make this dish they call surah, which is fermented sardine with salt, and they add a little bit of this red earth. They say this is very good for you. This mineral has a lot of mineral, and there is the locals said the Portuguese gave them this recipe. So I don't know, but we have a lot of document. Iranian were eating earth for long time. So, and now we came to Balochistan. Sistan and Balochistan was very eye-opening for me, and the food was wonderful. Here is a fish stuffed with spices and wrapped in the palm leaves. and then grilled over the fire. So delicious. We cooked the whole goat in pomegranate juice and garlic and spices all day, and then we remove the goat, add some rice when we cook the rice, then we serve them together. That dish was so tasty. I love this. We made the whole and made the ashes, and then we cooked the bread in the hot ashes. This, by the way, this is the most primitive way you make the bread. And I was surprised. In Balochistan, there were a lot of dishes which were forgotten in Iranian cooking, but which sort of disappeared. But I saw them in Balochistan, a lot of ancient dishes. This is the bread. Now we are in Khorasan. Khorasan is the place that saffron cultivated, which I'm going to show you a video of saffron, and so I'm not going to go over it. This is Shishlik Shandiz. Shandiz is the region in Khorasan, which they grow saffron. The rib, lamb rib kebab is very famous. You know why? Because the lamb fed by the residual of saffron blossom. So they feed their lamb with saffron blossoms. So as a result, the kebab is so tasty. Okay, this is a lot of, today you had, a lot of you had barberries. You asked me what is barberry, but this is barberry. It's a luscious red cluster, and it has it's bush. That's why you have to wash them thoroughly, because it's very near the earth, and it has a lot of sharp thorn. So that's why you have to wear thick gloves in order to. And this is dried barberry, which I cooked today for you. Did you like it, by the way? We cooked our barberry in saffron and rose water. We added with the chicken. Another dish, another ingredient, actually, I want you to know about is kashk. It's not kishk. Kishk is fermented bulgur. Kashk is reduced yogurt. So, or fermented buttermilk, or dry yogurt. So whatever it is, kashk. When you cook the kashk, become urut, urut. This is, I call it black kashk. It's more sour. In the center of Iran, they're all using kashk. And their famous dish is kalle juice. It's made of walnut and cash, fried onion and garlic. It's such a wonderful soup. They use with a lot of coton. Now we came to the heart of to Kerman, where is the American pistachio. Was the seeds of American pistachio come from Kerman. We went to during the harvest. They celebrate every reason. I love this picture. They make pistachio, pistachio soup, pistachio fesenjoon, pistachio pomegranate, rice with pistachio, the dill. Here is Kurdistan. It's another region. Is wonderful. It's Kurdistan. You had this is the khoresh you had today. This is wedding, Kurdish wedding, stuffed onion. I loved it. And this is the place that they grow, what is the name? Persian shallot or musir. That my colleague is going to talk about it. And on the road to Azerbaijan, we went on, this is the place, we went in Tabriz under the fig trees. They spread the Persian carpet, and I cook with my host. And they have all kind of meatballs. They love their meatball. And Tabriz's kebab is very famous. You look at these, some people that they're holding the iPhone, the older people, they're smoking hookah. I am cooking with Ismail Agha, tongue and then kalle pache, and we came to Yazd. Yazdis are famous for their sweet halvarde or halwa is sesame and syrup. The Hamadan has the most ancient community of Jewish people there. We serve a lot of dishes there. They tell me that I should get going. the Shiraz, Tachin, Tadik, and this is finished. This is my team, and thank you. So, they're going to show the video. Yeah. Yes, the first video is about saffron. We went to harvest, during the harvest in saffron, we document that. Okay? Light. Saffron is made from the golden stigmas of the autumn flowering purple crocus. It is the most labor-intensive spice to produce and the most expensive spice in the world. Saffron has been cultivated in ancient village of Qaim in northeastern Iran for thousands of years. The saffron crocus needs a soil that is a combination of gravel and red clay. It needs mild winters and hot and dry summers, as well as fields that are more or less bare, no trees, but also fields that are not susceptible to cold winds. In the autumn, everyone in the village is involved during the harvest, from the very young to very old. They get up in the early morning before sunrise. The flowers must be hand-picked when their quality and aroma is at its peak in the early morning. Each day, the flower picking pretty much stops by 9 in the morning as the day begins to heat up. The pickers wear special aprons with large pockets for the picked flowers. After the saffron blossoms are picked, they are transferred to special white sisal sacks. The saffron blossoms are then taken indoors, usually to the family's home, where the blossoms are spread on white sheets in a cool, dark place. The saffron stigmas must be removed by hand on the same day as the harvesting. Otherwise, separating the stigmas from the blossom becomes harder. The 3 red stigmas from the blossom are separated and arranged in a pile on a plate. Then bundled into bouquets and tied with saffron dyed silk threads. The saffron bouquets are left to dry and transferred to white bags. The residual saffron blossoms are used to feed the lambs and sheep in the field. Some of the residual blossoms are also used as fertilizer. Besides its use in cooking and for the medicinal quality, it is considered to be an aphrodisiac. Saffron is used for its orange color to dye textiles. It was used as a perfume and also in ancient times offered ritualistically to the gods. But most importantly, saffron adds a rare, potent, and marvelous taste to food. To make saffron water, you must grind the saffron with a cube of sugar to help the grinding in a mortar and pestle, then dissolve in water. I like to dissolve my saffron in rose water to enhance its heavenly aroma. Saffron threads should be stored in a cool place in an airtight container. If it's stored correctly, its aroma will last for years. So the next one is Leila Khanum. She's making she's making date bread. She made her dough with date juice and she made it. So, that's sesame oil. You're making a hole so it doesn't fall down. Glaze them with sesame oil. She's adorable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Najmieh. You will need to return your mic to our mic crew. Yeah. Thank you so much. Our next presenter is Naz Deravian. She's a James Beard Award-nominated author of Bottom of the Pot, Persian Recipes and Stories. And she's also the recipient of the IACP Julia Child First Book Award, presented by the Julia Child Foundation for Gastronomy and the Culinary Arts. She was born in Iran, grew up in Canada, and now lives in Los Angeles with her husband and 2 children. Naz Deravian.
Hi. It's a pleasure to be with you all here today for the entire conference. Thank you for having me. Most of all, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be up here with my Iranian culinary heroes, Najmieh Batmanglij, who you just met, and every other chef that's about to come up. It truly is very special for me to be sharing this space and this time with them. Today I want to talk to you about one ingredient, and that ingredient is called musir in Persian, otherwise known as the Persian shallot. You might see in some recipes or whatnot, they'll say use musir or just use the common shallot. Musir is different than the common shallot, sometimes referred to as the European shallot, but the shallot that we know of here, you know, the more oval-looking one that you can find at the supermarkets. Musir is native to Iran. It grows, let's see, there we go. It grows in the Zagros Mountains on the western side of Iran, and it ranges, these mountains go from the north all the way to the south. And the interesting thing is that depending on where you are in that range, the musir is going to be different. It grows in high elevations, it needs a wet climate, but as you go to the south, as it gets drier, your musir might change in color, in shape, and also pungency. Lorestan, which is one of these regions along the Zagros Mountains, it's responsible for about 25% of the agricultural goods of Iran, and musir is one of them. Unfortunately, just like with everything else, not only in Iran, but happening across the world, is there has been a case of overpicking the musir. So you have people who come and pick it and go and sell it for lower prices, and that's depleting the musir cultivation along the Zagros Mountains. The scientific name for musir is A. hirtifolium. So if you wanted to get technical about it, that's what it's called. You can think of it as something in between elephant garlic and the common shallot that we know of. While I was doing this research, I had a really hard time finding photos for you showing the musir plant growing in Iran, and I searched high and low. Finally, I came across these photos taken by a Scandinavian man who was trekking through the Zagros Mountains, and he kindly shared them with me, and he's very excited that I'm sharing his photos with you here today. So it truly is the world coming together with this man traveling to Iran and sharing his photos with us. So this is Bakhtiyari province. These are his photos. And this is what the plant itself looks like, and it's a bulb. And that's one thing that sets musir apart from the common shallot. So the common shallot bulb, you'll have anywhere between 10 to 15 bulbs. The musir bulb will just be one bulb, on occasion, very rarely, maybe 2 bulbs. And here we have families harvesting musir. And there we see it growing out. The other thing that sets musir apart from the common shallot and even elephant garlic, which I have here, is the common shallot, like I mentioned, is oval or egg-shaped. Musir is round and yellow. So that's another difference. So here I have the life of musir, but this is not actually musir. It's elephant garlic, but it's similar to musir. And what they do is they pick it and they slice it and dry it, and we can purchase it here in the West from Iranian markets or online, and it'll come in a package similar to this, and it has been dried. I have not been able to find fresh musir, like real A. hirtifolium musir here in the West at all, but I do know that there are some growers growing it. So if you come across it or if you do some research, I highly recommend that you get the fresh and try it out, then write me and let me know about it, and tell me where I can find it as well. So here it is, packaged and dried and sliced, and you can see. And what we do typically when it's dried like this, you need to soak the musir in water. First of all, to reconstitute it, to make it soft, to be able to chop it or slice it. And also, it's quite pungent and strong. So I hope you get a chance, maybe we can move this outside or something, that you can come and actually smell this stuff. It has a very interesting scent. It's almost smoky. It's strong, and that's another thing that sets it apart from a common shallot. Whereas for me, the common shallot is closer to an onion. Musir is closer to a garlic, but it's got its own scent and flavor. There's nothing else like it. So when you soak it in water, it reconstitutes, and it mellows out a little bit, and then we can chop it, and here it is in the chopped version. The most common dish that many Iranians are familiar with that's made with musir is called mastu musir, which is just yogurt and musir. And this is served, if you go to a Persian restaurant, you'll see it served alongside chelo kebab, which is the kebabs and rice, or as an appetizer, served as a dip. Just a little side story about my personal connection to musir. When my family immigrated to Canada, we were in Iran and then Rome, and then we went to Canada. There was this thing that my friends would bring to their parties called French onion dip, and it came out of like a container like this. And it was rather interesting in taste. They bought it at the 7-Eleven with some chips. But in taste and scent, it actually reminded me a little bit of mast musir. So then I would have my mom make it, and I would take mast musir and my favorite chips to these parties, and everyone loved it more than French onion dip. So take that, French onion dip. So for mast musir, we take your pre-soaked and then dried musir, and then you want to chop it, and you'll find, for instance, this one here, you're going to come across some hard bits. You don't want to add that. Anything that your knife won't go through after you've soaked it, just discard it, don't use it. Then you chop it. How fine you chop it is really up to personal preference. If you can chop it in slivers, you can really finely chop it. I like to have a little bit of that musir bite under the tooth. So that's really up to personal preference. So you add the musir to the bowl. And I'm using a fair amount here, but these soaked overnight, so it has mellowed out some. And I don't know if you get the scent out there, but it's hitting me like right away, and I love it. And then you want to salt it, salt the musir itself a little bit. And then we can add, this is really simple. You can add your yogurt to it. You can use whatever yogurt you prefer. It depends how you're going to serve it. I have labneh here, which is really, really, really thick, strained yogurt. If you have just regular strained yogurt or what's called Greek yogurt, you can use that. Plain yogurt, it's not the best for dipping. If you want to dip it with chips, which is my favorite way to consume musir, and I highly recommend it. Or you can use bread, or you can use vegetables. I do like to use a runnier yogurt, plain yogurt, mast musir. When I'm serving it, it's not traditional, but I think this is why I wanted to introduce this to you, because I think you can do so much more with it than just what we do here traditionally, which is the mast musir. So you make your mast musir, and then you spread it on a platter, and then you can add charred blistered tomatoes on top. You can add roasted carrots, and it's similar to garlic and yogurt dip that you might use in the same way. So then we add our labneh, or whatever type of yogurt you like. And this combination of yogurt and an allium, like musir, these combinations don't happen accidentally, especially with Iranian food. Iranian food is similar to traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine in that there's actually a reason behind why we're using these two ingredients together. So yogurt is thought to be cooling. And by that, I don't mean that it's cool in temperature. There is something that we call garmi and sardi in Persian food, and that's not, it's in hot-cold elements, and that's not in reference to the actual heat or temperature of the food. It's more about the effect the food has on the body. And sometimes, so certain foods are classified, like yogurt, in the cooling category. Alliums are classified in the warming category. Another great example is our really famous fesenjan dish, the dish of pomegranate molasses, or it can be pomegranate juice, and walnuts. Walnuts are considered warming, and pomegranates considered cooling. And then you have balance. It's all about creating balance. And you create balance in the dish, and you create balance in the body. And it becomes more digestible. We are a food culture obsessed with digestion. Everything must digest really well. And that's another thing about yogurt, too. You'll see some type of yogurt dish at our dinner tables, at the restaurants. There'll be some yogurt because, of course, yogurt is great for digestion, and now we speak of it as probiotics and whatnot. But no matter what, it's it's the balance, the cooling effect that it has on the heavier stews or rice dishes. It also happens to be my most favorite ingredient in the world. I also have been told that I'm hot in nature. And so it explains that I would love yogurt so much because it cools me down. Okay. So we just... Haas, I see you laughing at me. We add the yogurt to this. How much yogurt you add, again, it's about creating the right balance. It's up to you. And then you season it again with some salt. At this point, you can leave it as is. And what will be better is that if this actually sits overnight and the flavors really meld and come together. I wouldn't recommend serving this right away. I think it could really use at least a few hours just to let those flavors, the moussir, get incorporated into the yogurt. Or you can add some fresh herbs or dried mint. We really love to add dried mint to our yogurt dishes. I have some fresh tarragon that I've chopped up here. I love the smell of tarragon, and I love the little kick and bite of tarragon, and I think it goes really well with the moussir, so you can add that to this as well. The other thing about moussir is, back to the balance and, there we go. Many, many years ago, moussir was thought to be a cure for malaria. So they actually used it for that. These days, there's been a lot of scientific research that shows moussir is it's an anti-cancer. It can be great for that. It's an antioxidant and antibacterial, which again makes sense. If you go to a traditional Iranian restaurant and you order the cello kebab again, the rice and the kebab, you'll always see like a big hunk of onion come to the table. This isn't to scare away your date, put an end to your marriage, or anything of the sort. The onion is there to aid in the consumption of those meats. It's an antibacterial, so it's from back in the day. If you couldn't digest that meat, or if it was not cooked properly, the onion helps in that. So moussir here actually plays the same role, or garlic would, for that matter. And that's it. You could do this with garlic. You could do it with the common shallot. I wouldn't use as much. I think a common shallot is too pungent. What you could do is chop up that shallot and then soak it in a little bit of vinegar to cut through that the sharp tang of the common shallot and then add it here. You could do it with ramps. You can do it with green onion. They're all in the same family. They're all in that same allium family. I wanted to introduce you to this particular ingredient because I think it can also be used in other ways and more innovative ways. This is fantastic. We know about this. As Iranians, we know about this. But if you had the chance, for instance, yesterday to try the tongue sandwich from Sofre, Chef Nasim and Chef Ali, they had a moussir aioli. And I think that's wonderful, that you're taking these ingredients that we, as Iranians, might only associate with this one way of preparing it. But if you know what purpose it serves and how you want to create that balance again, then you can start experimenting with it. Or if you're fortunate enough to buy it fresh or find it fresh, you can use it as garlic. Or try elephant garlic. It comes pretty close to that same scent. And use it in the same way that you might use garlic as well. I've had moussir in a drink called dour as well. I don't know if you're familiar with dour, but dour is a yogurt-based drink. It's basically yogurt thinned down with water. And I've had it very, very, very finely chopped, or there's also the powder. You can get musir powder and add a little bit to your dough, to this drink, this yogurt-based drink, and that's really lovely as well. That's it. So here, I'm going to swap out, like magic, the finished dish, and you can, this is not traditional, but I think just for visually, you could just drizzle a little olive oil on it, or a lot, a little more. And then just garnish it however you like. And you can serve this, like I said, with bread, with chips, or you use it as a base. And it would be wonderful with meats too, because again, thinking about the antibacterial properties of musir and how it's served in the Persian restaurants with the kebabs, you can serve it with any other kinds of meats, and I think that would be really nice too. So that's it for our musir. There you are. You can serve it. Was that it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was it. Thank you so much, Naz.
Thank you.
I think if we learn anything at Worlds of Flavor that we did not know already before this year, is that there is no such thing as too little olive oil. It's a message that gets repeated over and over again, and thank you for reinforcing it again.
Thank you.
Our next presenters come from Brooklyn, from Iran via Brooklyn, from Brooklyn via Iran. Nasim Alikhani is a chef owner of Sofra in Brooklyn. She was born and raised in Iran and comes from a tradition of strong women who are great cooks and began cooking for large gatherings and parties at a young age. She went to law school, though, instead of fulfilling her passion. And it took her 25 years to actually, while working in professions completely unrelated to food, to actually realize her dream of opening a restaurant, which she did in the summer of 2018. Nasim opened at 59 years old her restaurant Sofra in Brooklyn. And Ali Saboor, who is presenting with her, is a chef de cuisine at Sofra. Ali was born in Iran and grew up in California. He has spent his youth in family-owned Persian restaurants and has since trained and worked throughout the U.S., cooking regional American, Spanish, and Italian cuisine. When he joined Sofra at opening in 2018, he returned to his root, cooking regional Iranian cuisine. So without further ado, Nasim Alikhani and Ali Saboor.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Ali, this is Nasim. The reason we both thought we'd share this tiny space with you was because we want to kind of share the dynamic that we have in the restaurant. You know, we play unique roles in the restaurant. Nasim has amazing experience with traditional Persian cuisine. She's like an encyclopedia of all these amazing recipes. So all the dishes that we have at Sofra are based on ideas and dishes that Nasim comes up with. And my position as a chef is really to try to take this cuisine and make it restaurant quality, restaurant worthy, and really honestly able to fire in a restaurant. Because, you know, one thing is to, you know, cook food at home. Another thing is to kind of be able to present that cuisine in a restaurant setting. And that's really what brought us together. So we're going to dive in and just start cooking. So the first dish we're doing today is Najmieh Batmanglij. And we're doing it with this beautiful striped bass. So Nasim, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Najmieh Batmanglij dish?
Najmieh Batmanglij is a dish. Najmieh, first of all, means a stew in Arabic. It's not a Farsi word, it's an Arabic word, but in our language, we use it interchangeably. This dish is from south of Iran. Typical Iranian dishes are not as spicy, but southern dishes in Iran are spicy. Tamarind is not exactly a typical traditional Iranian ingredient, probably came from India, but it landed itself, and in the south they use it in a lot of different dishes. I fell in love with this dish when there was a war in Iran, and it's really like, Iran is a vast country, is a large country, and there are as many dishes, as many tribes, as many languages, as different climates. It is something that I wasn't even familiar. I come from Esfahan, right in the center, clueless about what's happening, except some northern dishes because we were traveling in summer. But other than that, I was introduced to the southern dishes when war in Iran and Iraq happened, and there was a migration of war refugees to my hometown. And our neighbors started cooking this incredible smell, and my mother had to stop me because it was really rude to go and knock on their door, like, what the hell, what is it you're cooking? And we have this culture of serving food to each other, like sending food to our neighbors. And the very first qalia mahi I had, I must have been like 18 or 19, it just blew my mind. And next thing I was cooking it, and I was learning it. And then over the years, then I came to US and forgot about it. But when I was thinking about Sofra's menu, I really felt like, with all these years of cooking and experimenting, I wanted to have one dish from my home and my city, or a couple of dishes from my home that I'm very comfortable. But I also wanted something from South and something from North, and possibly a few things from East and West. And our menu is that right now. The menu we are serving currently is representing different regions of Iran. And qalia mahi is that, this particular dish that brought us actually to a spotlight. It was picked up by New York Times, and Melissa Clark wanted this dish. And she asked if I would give the recipe. I said I would give my head to New York Times, let alone the recipe. So, that dish is, the recipe is there in New York Times, and Ali's, as Ali said about the way we work together, I have this traditional way of looking at dishes, which is typical stew with protein inside it. And this dish, traditionally in the South, they cook it with the bones and with the fish bones and with the whole fish. And Ali came up with this. This is much more presentable. Let's take the protein and showcase these incredible fish that we have here, the options we have here. So that's this dish came about. The qalia is the sauce, and maybe we explain a little bit.
Yeah, let's start going through the various stages of cooking onion. So Nasim, so this is the basically onion that's been peeled, and we buzz it in a food processor. And how long do you think this takes to...
It takes typically, of course, the restaurant says it's a big pot, but I spend the same amount of time frying this white onion on a low heat and a gentle heat without much oil until to get to this brown caramelized. Why I do that, I want to get all the sugar of the onion out. And that's why when you taste this sauce, it's a little sweet and sour. A lot of it has to do with the sweetness that comes from cooking onions gently. After onions are at this level, kind of like deep brown, I add the garlic. Garlics are chunked, lots of garlic, lots and lots of garlic. I saute them together without burning. I constantly stay over the pot, and I'm mixing them because if I let all that onion in the bottom, they all burn, and you don't want that. After they are ready, we add the turmeric. Again, lots of turmeric. At this point, when I add turmeric, I add a little bit of oil because turmeric burns very fast. Not even like 10 seconds. Mix them. Add the chili. At this point, I remove all this onion base out, and in the same pot, I bring all my chopped herbs. The herbs are cilantro, parsley, scallion, and fresh fenugreek. And I bring that in the same pot. Keep sauteing them until about this much herb gets to about this much without adding any additional oil. At this point, I will start adding oil. If I start adding oil from the beginning, you will be having oil instead of this dish. So I'm very careful about how much oil I use, at what stage I use. After this point, I bring everything together, the onion mixture, everything, mix them very well, and start adding tamarind juice. The way I get my tamarind juice to this level, I get blocks of tamarind in a bag. I'm very choosy about the company I use, but it's up to you. What would you like to do? I soak them in water overnight, especially for restaurant, in a big bucket, squeeze them and keep processing them until I get all the goodness of the tamarind. Put it back in. Then I start seasoning. Salt, pepper, and a little bit more lemon juice, cover it, and then start tasting it and keep adding. Sometimes I may need to add more sugar. I like to have that balance of the sweet and sour in this dish. This dish is more sour with a hint of sweetness. It's not a sweet dish. It's a sour dish with a hint of sweet. Once we are done, the sauce should be looking like that. The sign of the sauce being done when the oil separates, there is a word in Farsi that literal translation means it's settled. By settling means the oil comes up. All the oil I put, they just come up. The color, this beautiful dark green, is the color you want. Right now you can't see the oil separation because we mixed it so much, but the oil was on top, and this is what you want to get. At this point, your sauce is ready. You just wait for your fish.
So for those of you not familiar with the cuisine, really 3 key steps that she just went over. One is how much we use onions and turmeric. It's like our sofrito. It's really a lot of dishes we starts with sweating down onions and adding that turmeric. I can name probably 20 dishes that start like that. And the second one is really how long she cooks down the onions. It's funny, at the restaurant we'll have 3 giant rondeaus, and Nasim will be standing there for hours just staring onions. And really, that's kind of the building block to a lot of our dishes. And then the last one for me, which, not really having cooked Persian food all my life, it seemed counterintuitive to really fry herbs. I mean, you're frying the hell out of them. You're putting them in a pan and you're frying them, right? And then they stick to the bottom of the pot, and I'm like, what are you doing? But really, that's what gives it that amazing color that it has now, that deep kind of dark green color that the dish has. So we are going to go ahead and plate this one, and we're going to try to actually show you 2 dishes since we have the time. And our fish is looking pretty nice. So at the restaurant, we usually have different types of rices on the menu. Well, we recommend this one with plain basmati rice. That to cheat, we drizzle with a little bit of clarified butter. That's our secret. And Nasim puts a little rose water in our saffron mix too. That's the garnish on the rice. So I've given you a couple of our secrets. So hopefully Nasim won't get mad at me. Beautiful sauce, Nasim.
I hope you tasted this sauce. We are really...
Yeah, we did this dish in the marketplace, so hopefully you got a chance to come by and try it. Anyone? No? 2? Yeah.
Good. Ooh, nice.
Let's hear it for the marketplace. All right, I like this piece.
Just one little story. The lady that I finally got the approval that this is it, she's the mother of my best friend. I call her sister. And when my sister, my /friend, showed her New York Times article, the mother had tears in her eyes, and she said, "We were kicked out of our land, but our dishes is in New York Times." So that was a little something. I was yes. So I'm very proud to represent the regional dishes of Iran, and we do really a lot of care to present it beautifully and also traditionally.
All right, so that is our first dish, just finished with a little coarse Malden salt and chives to kind of reinforce that onion flavor that's in the dish. All right, so the next dish we're going to do, thank you. So the next dish we're going to do is more my take on the dish. So this dish actually started with family meal. We sell a lot of half chickens in the restaurant, so we had a lot of chicken parts left, a lot of kidneys and hearts. And so Nasim would make this dish, and I've kind of been experimenting with yogurt dips. And so it's called jagur bagur, and honestly, the only reason I did it was so I can stand in front of you and say jagur bagur a few times, because it's kind of cool. It's a Persian thing, I guess. So we're going to start by searing chicken hearts and kidneys. I'm going to take over the whole kitchen here. So nice hot pan. And the sauce, I'm not going to have time to make it here with you. But basically, again, it starts with sweating down onions, garlic, turmeric. I add a little ginger, and then you deglaze with tomato paste. I put a little bit of chili paste in there. Dried lime powder. Here, let's switch this up here. And, you know, for me, the best part of like getting into Persian food, you know, obviously I grew up eating these recipes, but it's really reintroducing myself to all these ingredients, to all these spices. And right now, my favorite one is dried lime powder. One of the garnishes we're going to do is fried potatoes. I've been dusted with sea salt and dried lime powder. And it has this really amazing deep citrus flavor that you don't get from like zesting a lemon on top, for example. So we're going to give those a nice sear. A few of the hearts.
Nasim, while Ali is cooking, so he said that's his take on it. Can you talk a little bit about the dynamic between the two of you and how that works in a restaurant?
Wow. I did not say that.
You set her up. You set me up.
No.
You got 3 minutes. Go.
Many of you probably have read the bio. I come from really a home background. I did a lot of catering and a lot of really ambitious stuff that I got lucky. But when it came to the restaurant, it was much bigger bite that I could swallow. But big typical me, I was going to go for it. And thank God Ali was sent by the angels, and we managed to open a restaurant. But that was just
the restaurant angels.
the restaurant angels, like those restaurant angels. So Ali came from professional background. I come from tradition and home cooking background. And it was, I would say, not an easy way to start working together, but at the same time, our passion, our drive, our dedication, each one, him to his professional training and knowledge, and me to what I believe in and what I set myself up to represent. I think it became a common ground that we were able not only to gap these differences. For those of you who are in the industry, he would say stuff that to me was like, what is he talking about? And I probably burned his ears by telling him about the stories of where this has come from and why this and that, and he patiently tolerated that. The outcome of that is something that is Sofre is right now. Sofre is a place that is doing authentic food, but at the same time is restaurant way, not what I would do at home or what I would do in my parties or even caterings. This is something that is applicable, is transferable, is something that is also relatable. And he brings a lot of knowledge from his age, his perspective, his experience, and I bring the tradition, and I just can't be more grateful of this two different worlds merging together. And we have been able to really bring our food to Brooklyn, of all places. And people come, and they just come, and it's a restaurant. It's like any other restaurant, but it's also home. It's our home, it's my home. It's part of Iran in that little spot of Brooklyn. So
You're gonna make me cry.
So yeah, that is the dynamic. But just one more thing, we nearly killed each other in the process a few times. So we skipped through that. But right now, we are standing and smiling.
We edited those parts.
we edited the fights.
All right, so we got 50 seconds left. I'm gonna finish plating. So what I've got is strained yogurt. What's it called when we mix yogurt with biryani, right? Or when you mix a vegetable with yogurt? Borani, right? Yep. So I've been messing around with that a lot, and so this is the mixture of those two ideas. It's not a vegetable, chicken parts. All right, so we've got our sumac onions. And this is not sumac from Iran. I served those with the onions yesterday on the tongue sandwich.
Did you guys have the tongue sandwich yesterday?
Who
Oh,
had
it was
the
really
tongue
good,
sandwich? Woo! All right. And these are those potatoes that we fried, dusted with salt and the dry lime powder. And I'm going to run 20 seconds over. I
That's
apologize.
fine, because I have one more question also for you guys.
Yeah, ask away. And just some greens to garnish with. This is micro mint, but you can pretty much use anything. And just because I love the dried lime, and with everything, finish it with salt. And that is my second dish. That was fun. Let's do a few more.
Well, one thing that
Will you guys hang out?
I learned in Najmieh's book the importance of sofre to Iranian cuisine. So can you please explain what sofre means?
Nasim, explain what sofra means.
Sofra literal translation means a tablecloth we spread before eating our meal. But sofra is so much more than that. We have many of our traditional events such as Nowruz, wedding, different religious ceremonies. They all have particular sofra names with it, like the Persian New Year is called Sofre Hafsin. The wedding sofra is Sofre Aqd. Sofra is everything to me, because to me, it's not just what you put the food and the spread, but also it means community, it means culture, it means coming together, and it means sharing a bite together. So you hardly ever really fight when you have sofra. You're sitting around sofra. Some families do, but not us. I will just say. When you just sit down and put the sofra. And that's why I wanted that name to be for Sofra Restaurant. It's also just, I thought this is everything. It's food, it's culture, it's tradition, and it's coming together.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Nasim and Ali.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Our final presenter of this session is Hanif Sadr, who is the chef owner of Comage Kitchen, a cafe in Brooklyn and also, a cafe in Berkeley and a catering company. Very different places. Although a friend of mine is working on this concept of the global Brooklyn, and that there are basically all these recreations of Brooklyn all over the world. So I don't know if Berkeley would say they are a global Brooklyn, but anyway, sidebar. Hanif was born in Paris, but he grew up in Iran, and he still very regularly travels there for research. When I invited him for Worlds of Flavor, he wrote back and said, yes, I will call you when I'm not in rural Iran, because connection is not so great out here. So Hanif has been doing a lot of research. He grew up in Tehran. He came back to the United States in 2012 for a graduate program on renewable energy. And then he decided, he was invited to join a summer camp, and they asked him to cook, even though he had no idea how to cook. So his tutor from his family in Iran was the longtime cook of the family, and he helped him, guided him through the recipes. That's how he learned. He never went back to working in renewable energy. He's been working in cooking ever since. It's our great pleasure to welcome Hanif Sadr to the stage.
Thank you. Hello. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I think that I'm the last person, so I'm gonna do it more casual, not cooking. We'll show you some pictures to have fun. 17 minutes of cooking, I can say. Thank you. So we're gonna have a 4-minute loop of pictures that I will share some information. Since we are talking about regional Iranian food, I would love to give you a brief information. Iran is the 18th largest country in the world, and it has different regions with completely different climates. I am focusing on northern Iranian food, and just to give you more information. Northern Iran is the southern side of the Caspian Sea, the largest lake in the world. It's surrounded by the Alborz mountain chain, the highest mountain chain in the whole Middle East. So the weather is interestingly subtropical, super lush and humid. Their cuisine is based on lots of herbs, fruits, molasses, definitely fish roes, and many other ingredients that they can grow there all year round. The difference between the lowlands of the Caspian and the high altitude farms and lands of the Alborz mountain brings a very interesting combination of ingredients for them to be able to use. Rasht, the biggest city in northern Iran, is called a city of rain, which gets much more rain than the other cities all around Iran. And the weather led to having all the ingredients starting from early spring to like late fall, having fruits and vegetables always available. And people of northern Iran have this lifestyle of semi-nomadic living. So they would spend most of the time on the lowlands of the Caspian, and they would go up to the mountains for the hot times of the year, like starting by mid-spring to early fall. They would get the animals there, and they would own lands and farms up to the mountains and on the Caspian lowlands. So they had access. They had an access to different ingredients that grows in different latitudes and different regions. In the highlands, they would grow nuts, they would grow wheats, they would forage for herbs and for flowers and for wild fruits and vegetables. And on the lowlands, they would grow rice, they would grow tea, they would grow citrus and pomegranate and other fruits and vegetables. And also they would do fishing. And in the two places, one important thing is to preserve all the fruits and vegetables that is available, you know, the variety that is available. So smoking, making molasses, fermentation, and drying is all very common and important techniques in northern Iranian gastronomy, I can say. Like using fresh herbs is in the daily routine of cooking, but not just as a garnish on our plates, and not just like having on the side as a fresh herb that we all Iranian do. Having it in our food all the time and create the flavors based on herbs, based on molasses, and based on nuts, not a lot of spices like many part of Iran. Same goes with other ingredients and other dishes, like they would preserve on each season. Molasses can be made in different seasons. And I'm not talking about pomegranate molasses. I'm talking about sour pomegranate molasses, but also many other molasses, like plum, melder, barberries, wild plums, sour apples, quince, sour orange molasses, which they all have this amazing flavor and ingredients to the dish. And nuts also. They would use a lot of nuts, not also walnuts, but also almonds, hazelnuts, which really gives a body and texture to what they do, even raw or cooked. Their lifestyle led them to live in a way that they can create flavors based on where they can live and also where they can travel between the lowlands and the highlands. So that brings a different flavors on each moment to the same dish, because their cuisine is based on foraging and also based on farming, and they have everything available in every season, I can say. I will show you a very brief PowerPoint about the dish that we're going to cook, which is called bieh. Bieh in northern Iran is a sauce made out of herbs, walnuts, and molasses. So can we have the PowerPoint, please? And also, can we have our... Yeah. Okay, so bieh is a northern Iranian herb sauce or stuffing or mixture. which shows the way that they live. Our sous chef Holden is going to start making it while I'm trying to explain. So I told about geography. This dish is more specific to Gilan province, which is a western province in northern Iran. You can see where it is located, but same as the other part of northern Iran, has a subtropical weather between Alborz mountain and the Caspian Sea, and the climate is subtropical, so the dish is like based on lots of herbs. The cuisine is based on herbs because they use a lot of herbs. And by a lot of herbs, I mean they have, each family, they have their own kind of small herb farm behind the house, each of them. And you can see in this picture that this is like a family herb farm, that they would pick herbs every day and sell it sometimes at the market. For making herbs, always you have to chop it, and they don't use food processor, and they have knives and cutting boards, and their way of chopping herbs is totally different from what you will learn in like French techniques, and because the amount is like a lot more than that. You can do the techniques like that. They use a special tool called namakkar, which is a kind of a northern Iranian mortar and pestle tool. You can see in the right picture that she is like crushing herbs. After you crushed herbs which we used food processor, you will start sautéing the herbs with oil, and then at the moment you will add a walnut. The herbs can be varied from like basically parsley, cilantro, mint, chives, or green onion, but for each dish or each season, the ratio and the variety can be different. People will use different selections for different dishes, like fish, chicken, or other dishes. So you can see here, one of the ladies is making a kind of a salad or snack, which is called halukotena. It's a wild green plums with a fermented herbs paste, which they kind of crush the paste with that tool. And then they will sell the extra herbs in the farmers markets. That is like a real farmers market, not the one that we go here in California, but the one that they're really coming there, just throw stuff. And all those piles that you can see are the herbs mixes for different dishes. So you would go to the farmers market and you would ask for the specific name, and they would give you as much as you want. This is again a family herb farm that they would pick their herbs every day. They make molasses. So here we use two different molasses, which is going to be pomegranate molasses and sour orange molasses. Our flavors are more sour, so the pomegranate molasses here are kind of sweet for us, so we always have to bring sour orange molasses and add a bit to our sauces. Just pictures of herbs, and here you can see the lady with bare hands foraging some wild nettle, which can be used in such a sauce. And for using this sauce, you can stuff fish or chicken or other birds like pheasants or duck, and also you can have it with vegetables like eggplants or onions or peppers. And we have a sauce ready. We just want to show you how to kind of make it. It takes not 17 minutes, a lot more than that, but I'm just going to give you, show you the process. So you will add the molasses when you sauteed the herbs, and then the spices are not, very key ingredients, but you would definitely add a bit of turmeric, like many of our Persian dishes, and then I add a bit of paprika here. It's not traditional at all. It will give a good pungent flavor to it. Some people would add a Persian hogweed that Najmieh was mentioning. Here we have some Persian hogweed forage from like a 1,700 meters above the sea level this past summer. And then the technique of drying herbs will let you to have dry herbs all year round and to create different flavors once you want it. This is like, as an example, is a dried Iranian rams that you can buy for piles, not the very expensive one that you buy here that they will just use a bit. You can add as much as you want to create better flavors. And then also many other like herbs like dried eringo or dried wild mint that it will kind of create a unique sauce each time that you make it. Or if you have a luxury to go forage some herbs that you might know, that will bring a very more beautiful flavors to it. The amount of molasses that we use has to be a lot more than this, and the sauce has to be cooked for at least 30 to 40 minutes to get to the point that you can use it. Here we have a final kind of a sauce that we made last night here at the kitchen to use today. This sauce is actually very thick, and since it has pomegranate molasses and also walnut, it can stay out of the fridge for let's say a day or so. That's the interesting thing about it, because pomegranate has the kind of a preservative. Pomegranate molasses has a preservative kind of a character, and since you're like sautéing the herbs in a lot of oil and with walnut, it will keep itself good outside of the fridge, because it was no fridge, right? No. Now everything has to be kept in the fridge. But we have a special kind of a clay pot. It's called gamej in northern Iran, that we cook most of our meat dishes in those pots. You make the sauce last night. We cook chicken and fish and also eggplant. We use those pots. It's there in the oven. I'm going to bring them out and kind of try to take the chicken and fish out for you to see. We are not doing any fancy plating or that. We just want to show you how it will really done in northern Iranian style. I just have to take the plates because I can't find them here, but that's fine, because you always can use other stuff, right? That doesn't matter. But so you can see how the color here is changing, but it needs at least couple of minutes to go. So this is technically, if you can have another dish, would be great. I mean, I brought 3 of them, but. So that is called mahi shekampor. It's here you have a rainbow trout cooked with, that's perfect, thank you, cooked with the sauce inside the northern Iranian clay pot. I will do my best to take it out without tearing apart, but in northern Iran there is no plating. They would eat it from this, but for you to just see how it looks like, we will kind of do our best. Can you help me with the head? Amazing. Okay. So it's here. Perfect. So, and just to do a bit of a chefy thing here, since we are all here, let me use some, I don't know, herbs to just make it more beautiful. I promise you I'm not going to sprinkle any pomegranate seeds on top of anything, because, we have many other ingredients to use, like here we have some barberries that we can use, or we can add a bit of more of a carrot tops on top, and that's it. There's no garnish needed, actually. Yes, please, let's do the chicken.
So would your tutor be happy and proud of you that you're doing chef things now?
I didn't get that.
Would your tutor be happy and proud that you're now doing chefs on the stage, stuff on the stage?
That's the thing. I mean, I guess, but I always wanted to stay, dedicated to the roots and just cook the food that have a complete knowledge about, and just to try to kind of show the cuisine and don't bring a lot of stuff from myself to the dish. Yeah, I would. Please, yes. Thank you, yeah. So I just, wanted to, this is a bit like, this chicken is completely stuffed. This actually a Turkish hen is completely stuffed with the sauce, and put the sauce around, and then again for just to the sake of doing a bit, I'm gonna have this beautiful already cooked barberries that Najmieh gave me like an hour ago. I will just to, and then I love to use a bit of this dried eringo or shishaq in Farsi, which is like a very very important herb in northern Iranian cuisine. It's like has a pungent, bitter flavor to it, and yeah, I guess that's fine. Thank you. And then just to be a bit more of a plant-based side, we're gonna show you the eggplant dish that you would make with this.
You have minus 30 seconds.
Excuse me?
You have negative 30 seconds.
Yes, that's going to be finished in less than a minute. Sorry about it. So this eggplant has been fried and then stuffed again with the sauce and cooked in the oven for now more than an hour. I always like to have some sprouts with it because we eat a lot of raw garlic and raw onion with our food. So sprouts kind of help that part. And then again some zereshk maybe, or maybe not, I don't know. And then like some herbs on top. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you so much, Hanif. And make sure on your way back down to SFO, for those of you flying that way, stop at Comage Kitchen in Berkeley. Thank you so much to all of our presenters. It's been such an honor to be able to learn from you all here. And I hope that you all feel that you have really increased your knowledge of regional Iranian cuisine. Let's give them another round of applause. And you can exit through the bottom and come back here tomorrow at 7:45 for breakfast, and in this room at 8:15. Have a great evening. Thanks, everyone.
This delicious grape ceviche uses fresh California grapes instead of raw fish. The crisp, juicy texture and delicate sweetness of grapes works beautifully here, and it's vegan. To get started, slice the grapes into rounds about 1/4 inch thick. In a large mixing bowl, gently combine the red grapes, green grapes, fresh corn, bell pepper, jalapeno, cilantro, oregano, lime juice, extra virgin olive oil, red onion, and avocado, and adjust the seasoning to taste. Serve with tortilla chips. This refreshing grape ceviche is a great shared appetizer that everyone can enjoy. Find this recipe and more on ciaprochef.com/grapes. Here's a sweet twist on a classic caprese salad. I'm replacing your traditional tomato and mozzarella salad with watermelon and burrata, and topping it with a fun and flavorful basil watermelon foam. Let's get this started. Slice watermelon into 1/2 by 3 by 3 inch slabs. Place your watermelon slices into cryovac bags and season with mint and lemon juice. I've compressed the slabs in a vacuum sealer at 99%. Remove from the bags and cut the compressed watermelon into 3-inch rounds, and then cut each round in half through the middle to get 2 equal rounds per piece. Now, let's make the watermelon basil foam. Place watermelon juice and chopped basil into a saucepan and heat until bubbling. Add soaked gelatin sheets and gently heat until melted. Strain the watermelon juice mixture and place into a siphon. Charge with nitrous chargers and chill slightly. To assemble the dish, place the watermelon rounds on a platter, alternating with a red slice, basil leaf, yellow slice, and a basil leaf until all the ingredients are used up in a nice circular pattern. Place the burrata in the center of the platter, drizzle with smoked olive oil, the balsamic vinegar, and sprinkle with salt and pepper. Discharge the watermelon basil foam onto the platter with the siphon around the burrata and serve with some baguette slices. There you have it, burrata with basil watermelon foam and smoked olive oil. You can also use your watermelon foam to garnish a cocktail. Enjoy!
I love this dish of roasted cauliflower, grilled figs, and Hellmann's lemon za'atar dressing because to me it captures everything Israeli cuisine is about. Freshness, vegetables, and just bright flavors. You start by taking a whole head of cauliflower, trimming the green leaves, and crisscrossing the root end, not all the way through. That will promote even cooking. Put it on a baking tray with a parchment paper, drizzle with olive oil, and season lightly with salt. Place in a preheated oven and cook for about an hour, depending on the size of the cauliflower, and cook until it's nice and brown all around. Cut the figs in half, drizzle with a little bit of olive oil and salt, and grill for about 2 minutes on one side. Whisk together even amounts of full-fat yogurt and lemon za'atar dressing, and set aside. To plate, break the cauliflower into florets, drizzle arugula with a little bit of the lemon za'atar dressing. Outline your serving plate with the yogurt lemon za'atar creamy dressing. Place the arugula in the middle. Place the cauliflower over the arugula and top with the grilled figs. Yummy!